Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving into a topic that touches nearly all of us at some point in our lives: the psychology of people who overvalue others' opinions. Have you ever found yourself second-guessing a decision because you're worried about what your friends, family, or even strangers might think? Or perhaps you've changed your outfit 3 times before leaving the house, not because it didn't feel right to you, but because you imagined judgmental glances from others? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. This tendency to place excessive weight on external validation is more common than you might realize, and it can shape our behaviors, choices, and even our sense of self in profound ways. In this exploration, we'll unpack what it really means to overvalue others' opinions, why some people are more prone to it than others, and the psychological mechanisms at play. We'll look at the roots in our evolutionary past, the role of upbringing and society, and how this mindset manifests in everyday life. By the end, you'll have a deeper understanding of this phenomenon and some insights into how to navigate it for a healthier, more authentic life. So, let's get started. First, let's define what we're talking about. Overvaluing others' opinions isn't just about caring what people think. That's a normal part of being human. We live in social groups, after all, and feedback from others helps us grow and connect. But when it becomes excessive, it crosses into a territory where external judgments overshadow our own inner voice. Psychologists often refer to this as approval-seeking behavior or external locus of evaluation, a concept popularized by humanistic psychologist Carl Rogers. Rogers argued that when we rely too heavily on others to define our worth, we drift away from our true selves, leading to incongruence between who we are and who we pretend to be. Imagine someone like Sarah, a fictional but relatable example. Sarah is in her mid-30s, working in a corporate job she doesn't love, but she stays because her parents always boasted about her stable career to their friends. She dresses conservatively, even on weekends, fearing that bolder choices might invite criticism from colleagues. Her social media posts are carefully curated to elicit likes and positive comments, and she often agrees to plans she dislikes just to avoid disappointing her circle. For Sarah, others' opinions aren't just input, they're the blueprint for her life. This overvaluation can lead to chronic stress, decision paralysis, and a diminished sense of autonomy. Why do people like Sarah end up this way? To understand, we need to go back to our evolutionary roots. Humans are wired for social connection because, in prehistoric times, belonging to a tribe was essential for survival. Being ostracized could mean facing predators or starvation alone. Evolutionary psychologists like David Buss suggest that this fear of rejection is hardwired into our brains, activating the same neural pathways as physical pain. Studies using fMRI scans have shown that social exclusion lights up the anterior cingulate cortex, the same area that responds to bodily harm. So, when we overvalue opinions, it's partly our ancient brain screaming, "Don't get kicked out of the group." But evolution isn't the whole story. Modern psychology points to a mix of nature and nurture. On the nature side, personality traits play a role. For instance, individuals high in neuroticism, a big 5 personality trait characterized by emotional instability and anxiety, are more likely to seek external approval. They perceive the world as threatening, so others' opinions become a barometer for safety. Similarly, those with low extroversion might internalize criticism more deeply, avoiding risks that could invite disapproval. Nurture, however, often amplifies these tendencies. Childhood experiences are crucial here. If you grew up in a household where love and acceptance were conditional, tied to achievements, obedience, or meeting parental expectations, you might learn to prioritize others' views over your own. Attachment theory, developed by John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth, explains this well. Children with insecure attachments, perhaps due to inconsistent caregiving, develop a heightened sensitivity to rejection. They become hypervigilant to social cues, constantly scanning for signs of disapproval to maintain bonds. Take the case of authoritarian parenting styles, where rules are strict and praise is scarce. Kids in these environments often become people pleasers, a term coined in popular psychology but rooted in clinical observations. Therapists like Harriet Lerner, in her book, The Dance of Fear, describe how such individuals suppress their needs to avoid conflict, leading to a cycle of resentment and burnout. Conversely, permissive parenting, where boundaries are lax but emotional support is inconsistent, can foster a similar dependency on external validation, as children seek it from peers instead of parents. Society and culture add another layer. In collectivist cultures, like those in many Asian or Latin American countries, Group harmony is valued over individual expression. Overvaluing others' opinions isn't seen as a flaw but as a virtue. Think of concepts like saving face in Chinese culture or ame in Japanese, which emphasizes interdependence. In individualistic societies like the United States, however, this trait might be pathologized more readily, linked to disorders like social anxiety or dependent personality disorder. Social media exacerbates this for everyone. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok are designed to quantify approval through likes, shares, and comments. Algorithms reward content that garners engagement, creating a feedback loop where users tailor their lives to what performs well. A study by the Pew Research Center found that 40% of young adults feel anxious if they don't receive enough likes on their posts. This digital validation seeking mirrors the psychological concept of social comparison theory, proposed by Leon Festinger in 1954. We compare ourselves to others to evaluate our own abilities and opinions, but when it's upward comparison, measuring against those who seem superior, it erodes self-esteem. Now, let's delve deeper into how this overvaluation manifests in different areas of life. Starting with personal relationships, people who overvalue opinions often struggle with boundaries. They might stay in toxic friendships or romantic partnerships longer than healthy, fearing the label of difficult or selfish. In therapy sessions, clients describe morphing into chameleons, adopting their partner's hobbies or views to ensure approval. This can lead to codependency, where one's emotional state hinges on the other's mood. In the workplace, it's equally debilitating. Consider promotion scenarios. Someone might hesitate to pitch innovative ideas if they anticipate skepticism from bosses or peers. Research from the Harvard Business Review indicates that fear of judgment stifles creativity in teams, with employees opting for safe, conventional paths. High achievers with imposter syndrome, a related phenomenon where success feels undeserved, often overwork to prove their worth, driven by imagined criticism. Mental health implications are severe. Chronic overvaluation correlates with anxiety disorders, depression, and even physical symptoms like insomnia or gastrointestinal issues due to stress. The DSM-5 classifies extreme forms under avoidant personality disorder, where individuals avoid social situations altogether to evade disapproval. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, models this as distorted thinking patterns, such as catastrophizing, assuming the worst from minor feedback, or mind reading, presuming negative thoughts in others without evidence. To illustrate, let's explore some real-world examples from psychological literature. One famous case is from Albert Ellis's Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy, REBT. Ellis treated a patient who believed, "I must be loved by everyone, or I'm worthless." This masturbatory thinking, as Ellis called it, led to constant anxiety. By challenging these irrational beliefs, the patient learned to value internal standards. Another example comes from social experiments. In Solomon Asch's conformity studies from the 1950s, participants changed their answers to match a group's incorrect judgments on line lengths, even when the truth was obvious. About 75% conformed at least once, showing how pressure from others' opinions can override personal perception. While this was about group pressure, it highlights the vulnerability in those who chronically overvalue opinions. Shifting to the effects on self-development, overvaluing others can stunt personal growth. When decisions are filtered through "what will they think" lenses, authenticity suffers. Maslow's hierarchy of needs places self-actualization at the top, but it's hard to reach if esteem needs, both self-esteem and respect from others, are imbalanced toward the latter. People might pursue careers or lifestyles that impress others but leave them unfulfilled, leading to midlife crises or regret. In creativity and innovation, this mindset is a barrier. Artists, writers, and entrepreneurs who fear criticism often self-censor. J.K. Rowling faced rejections before Harry Potter's success, but imagine if she'd stopped due to early opinions. Psychological resilience, or grit, as Angela Duckworth terms it, involves persisting despite setbacks, including judgmental ones. Now, let's consider gender differences, as research shows nuances here. Women, socialized to be nurturing and relational, often report higher rates of approval-seeking. A meta-analysis in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that women score higher on agreeableness, making them more attuned to social harmony but also more susceptible to overvaluing opinions. Men, conversely, might mask this through bravado, but in areas like body image or career status, they too seek validation, often through achievement metrics. Age plays a role too. Adolescents, with developing prefrontal cortices, are particularly prone due to peer pressure. The teenage brain's reward system lights up more for social approval, explaining trends like viral challenges. As we age, wisdom might temper this, but life transitions, like retirement, can reignite it if identity was tied to external roles. Cultural shifts are influencing the psychology as well. The rise of cancel culture amplifies fears of public shaming, making people hypercautious online. Yet, movements like body positivity encourage self-acceptance, countering overvaluation by normalizing diverse opinions. Having explored the causes and manifestations, it's time to think about solutions. While overvaluing opinions isn't always pathological, when it hinders life, intervention helps. Mindfulness practices, like those in John Kabat-Zinn's MBSR program, teach observing thoughts without judgment, reducing reactivity to others' views. CBT techniques are gold standard. Identify automatic thoughts like, "They'll hate me if I say no," then challenge them with evidence. Behavioral experiments, deliberately acting against the fear, like expressing an unpopular opinion, build tolerance. Building self-compassion, as Kristen Neff advocates, is key. Treat yourself as kindly as a friend, recognizing that imperfection doesn't diminish worth. Journaling prompts, such as, "What would I do if no one was watching?" foster internal locus of control. Social support matters too. Surround yourself with people who value authenticity over conformity. Therapy or coaching can provide tools, especially if rooted in deeper issues like trauma. In conclusion, the psychology of people who overvalue others' opinions is a complex interplay of biology, upbringing, culture, and environment. It's a survival strategy gone awry in a world where social bonds are vital but not life or death. By understanding its roots, from evolutionary fears to modern digital pressures, we can empathize with those affected, including ourselves. Remember, it's okay to consider others' perspectives, they enrich our lives. But when they drown out your own voice, it's time to reclaim autonomy. Start small. Make a decision today based solely on what feels right to you. Over time, this builds a stronger, more resilient self. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this resonates, reflect on your own experiences. What opinions have you overvalued, and how can you shift that? Until next time, prioritize your inner compass.